Let's get right into it. What if you could actually flip a switch in your brain that makes you crave doing the hard stuff you normally put off? Well, today we're going to break down exactly how to find that switch and turn it on for good. You know that feeling, right? The alarm goes off and you're in a battle with your arch nemesis, the snooze button. You promise yourself just a few more minutes, but then soon turns into scrolling on your phone, doing little busy work tasks, and boom, the day is gone. And that huge important project? Yeah, it's still just sitting there, staring at you.
If that sounds even a little bit familiar, you need to hear this. The issue isn't that you're lazy, not at all. It's about the kind of fuel you're putting in your motivational tank. And the really great news? You can totally upgrade it. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the two types of motivation. Then we'll dive into the 5 secret drivers that come from inside you. After that, I'll hand you a super practical toolkit to fire them up, and we'll wrap things up by looking at the ultimate goal, what's called the Zen warrior mindset. Let's do this. Okay, it all starts with understanding what you're running on. See, there are really only 2 kinds of motivational fuel, and let's be honest, most of us are using the cheap, inefficient kind. So, on one side, you've got extrinsic motivation. This is your classic carrot and stick stuff, working for money, for a promotion, for praise from your boss. It works, kind of, but here's the crazy thing. Our brain gets a bigger dopamine hit from thinking about the reward than from actually getting it. That's why the drive just fizzles out so fast. But on the other side, you've got intrinsic motivation. This is the good stuff. It comes from inside, from genuine curiosity, from having a sense of purpose, or just the pure joy of getting better at something. You do the thing because you love doing the thing.
You know, this might be the best analogy for it. Think of extrinsic motivation like fossil fuels. Sure, it gives you a quick boost, but it's messy, it's finite, and eventually you're going to run out. Intrinsic motivation, though, that's like fusion energy, literally the power that fuels the sun and the stars. It's clean, it's powerful, it sustains itself, and it just keeps on giving. So the big question is, how do we tap into our own personal fusion reactor? Well, it all comes down to understanding these 5 core intrinsic motivators. Think of them as your inner power grid. All right, here they are. Curiosity, purpose, mastery, autotelicity. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but it just means loving the process itself. And finally, autonomy. Now, instead of just defining them, let's look at a real-life story of what happens when these get all out of whack and how fixing them can literally change your entire life. So this is a quote from Rian Doris, who co-founded the Flow Research Collective. He was all set to get a PhD in neuroscience. I mean, he was curious, he was passionate about it, but somewhere along the way, his drive just completely fell off a cliff. Every single day felt like an absolute grind, and he had no idea why. So he did something brilliant. He made this scorecard to figure out what was going on. And wow, the results were a huge wake-up call. Look at this. His curiosity and purpose, they were high. But the other 3, they were totally tanking. His sense of mastery was low because he didn't feel like he was getting better. Autotelicity was in the gutter because he actually hated the day-to-day work. And autonomy, a big fat 0. Realizing this is what made him ditch academia and start his own business, a move that just lit up his entire scoreboard. And that is the power of getting your motivators aligned. When they're all firing together, your brain rewards you with this cocktail of performance-enhancing neurochemicals that gets you into a flow state. You know, that amazing feeling when you're so deep into what you're doing that time just melts away. But here's the real magic. Being in flow actually boosts your intrinsic motivation even more. It creates this incredible upward spiral. Okay, so theory is great, but how do you actually do this for yourself? Let's get into the practical stuff, a toolkit you can use to run the same diagnostic on your own life and find out exactly where your inner power grid needs a little juice. The process itself is actually pretty simple. First, you just have to assess where you're at with each of the 5 motivators. Second, you find your weakest link, the one with the lowest score. Third, you pick one specific strategy to boost just that one. And then fourth, you just repeat it. Because when you raise one, you get the energy and momentum to start raising the others. So, for example, let's say your curiosity is in the dumps. How do you fix it? It comes down to 2 key things. First, you need leverage from what you learn, meaning any new knowledge has to actually make a real difference in your work. And second, you need immediate feedback. You have to see the results of what you're learning, like right away. So if you read a business book on Monday, you should be able to try something new on Tuesday and see if it works. If you can't do that, it's a huge red flag that your work environment might be the real problem. Okay, or what about autonomy? This one's my favorite. Even if you're in a job that feels really restrictive, you can boost your sense of control. First, there's perceptual autonomy.
You reframe your job, even if you don't love it, as a strategic step you chose to take on your larger life journey. Second, you build what the source calls FU autonomy. That means getting skills and building a network so strong that you know deep down you could walk away anytime. Just knowing you have that choice is a massive game changer. Now, as you start to balance these internal drivers, something really incredible begins to happen. You stop being pulled around by external rewards, and you start moving towards this ultimate goal, becoming a Zen warrior. This right here is the end game. The Zen warrior has the cool detachment of a monk from all the external stuff, the money, the praise, the status, but they have the fierce engagement of a warrior. They are absolutely obsessed with the work itself. They're chasing mastery, not a bigger paycheck. They're chasing purpose, not a fancier title. Praise doesn't lift them up, and criticism doesn't tear them down, because the work is the reward. It's this unshakable state where doing hard things stops being a chore and becomes what you live for. So, I'm going to leave you with this question. Take a hard look at your own inner power grid. Your curiosity, your purpose, your mastery, your love for the process, and your autonomy. Which one is running on empty for you right now? And more importantly, what's one small thing you can do today to start giving it a boost?